Okay, I'd like to thank you all for coming, and also thank the Wheatbelt NRM for hosting this day. What I'm going to be doing is talking about Grosso farming and biological mineral farming. And just to get you in the picture, what we're talking about is taking microbes in the soil and getting mineral nutrition and then passing them through to the plant. So effectively what we're looking at is microbes linking plants to minerals. And just by way of introduction, there's a global awareness now about food security and food health, water issues, nutrition and so on that's sweeping the world. And we're getting a paradigm shift in agriculture. It's been a slow movement, but suddenly it's gained a lot of momentum in the last little while. And it gives us a chance as industry to put something into sustainability and into the viability of agriculture in a drying climate, particularly as we're seeing in the eastern Wheatbelt of WA. The main thing that we're interested in looking at is management practices that increase soil health and soil quality. And once we start doing that, we can start getting far more efficient fertiliser utilisation, particularly as there's the issues of peak oil, peak phosphorus, peak soil, peak water occurring at this time. We have to start being innovative and using biological farming programs to start utilising our resources in a far better way. Just by way of introduction also of our company, we started in 1997 as Western Mineral Fertilisers. We're a West Australian company that effectively looked at research issues, problems within the Wheatbelt, things like aluminium, salinity, water issues and so on. And what we've done over the last 15 years is a lot of R&D into developing biological farming systems, and on the back of our Grosso farming programs we've become highly successful at implementing these, taking the knowledge and converting it into farm systems that actually work under these drying conditions. So the main thing that we're interested in, and one of the reasons we joined up with the NRM, Wheatbelt NRM in 2013, is to look at soil health and soil productivity, soil profitability from a point of view of land care, and also to look at the living soil. By capturing and utilising microbes within the soil system and the soil itself, we're able to be highly successful in particularly drying conditions. So just to give you an idea of what I'm going to be talking about, I'm going to focus on what the soil actually offers to agriculture and what turns dirt or exhausted soil back into nutritious living soil. We'll then look at the three legs of plant production, particularly in cropping systems, in horticulture, in all forms of agriculture. Basically the chemical, physical and biological aspects of the soil, and we need to have these in balance. Once we get them in balance, we start to see this thing called nutrient use efficiency, where we apply, say, fertiliser, we apply dollars to the ground, and we want to start seeing efficiencies of utilising those dollars. And at this field day, the whole thing is about exploring climate change and how to adapt to climate change. Well, this is one of the ways that we've successfully done it. And so what we need to do is ask, how can we profitably and sustainably balance and improve the soils? What we'll do then is look inside the black box of soil and have a poke around and see what actually drives the soil, what makes it tick. And then once we do that, then it gives us an idea of how to harness the power of the soil and take the energy from the microbes in the minerals and so on that we have in the soil and create these living soils. Once you have that, then we come to this thing called soil biological fertility, and I'll explain about that as we go. Basically, once we put all of that together, we end up with a thing called Grosso farming, or biological mineral farming. And the key driver to that is getting far more nutrient use efficiency and water use efficiency, and ultimately it drives the dollars and it makes us sustainable not only environmentally but also from a economic point of view. So what does soil offer? Basics 101 of soil is that it composes basically of three parts: solid portion, which is about 45% mineral matter. That's the key parts of dirt, the silt, the clay, the sand. Then we have hopefully about 5% organic matter. Unfortunately, most of our soils in WA are much lower in that, down below 1% organic matter. And that is of critical importance because not only does the organic matter help with biological activity, but it is the sponge that holds nutrients and water. So we have to increase our organic matter, and so then we get into things like carbon farming. Added to that, we have water and about 25% through to the gaseous part, and so half of the system is very much influenced by climate. And what we need to do then is utilise systems that encompass all this, and that's where the biology comes in. Biology is an umbrella over this whole system that effectively takes dirt and converts it into a living soil. Once we start focusing on the living soil, then suddenly we start to get some power into the soil system. So what can the soil offer? The first things that we talk about are soil health and soil quality. Well, what is soil health? Really, it's defined as the capacity of a soil to function as a living, dynamic organism. Just as our skin is a living organism around our body, well, so is the soil around the planet, and that's the key part of what drives life on this planet. And what we have to do is then look at how this organism responds either negatively or positively to the way it's managed and maintained. So then suddenly we start to look at management systems. Once we start getting into what drives the soil in a positive way, suddenly we can start having an influence on soil health. So, what can soil offer to plant growth and to nutrition, not only for the animals, the microbes, but also humans and animals? Basically, that's where we start looking at soil quality. And then the classic things is we look at mineral nutrition of the soil, we look at the organic matter, and we start to look at this biological system. All of these are now measurable, and we're starting to get some very good DNA techniques so we can look at the biology that drives this system. And what we need to do is then get this in balance, and so the whole management system of soil, and to make it really start working, is to get things in balance. And each of these properties bounce off each other and interact with each other, so that once we get them in balance, then we start to get good effective health of plants and start getting an ecology that drives the system. The problem is that a lot of things in our management system over the last 50 years has started to deplete either the mineral part or the organic matter part or the biological, and we've ignored the biological because basically since Louis Pasteur, 150 years ago, the biology has been treated as the enemy. Effectively, microbes are bad, therefore let's kill microbes, both in agriculture and within medicine. And so what happens is that we've either ignored or we've bombed this part of it to get rid of it. Once you do that, you throw the balance out. And once the balance goes out, suddenly the system's out of commission. We just can't drive anymore because things just get out of whack. And so what we start to do is then start to see that we apply fertiliser to the soil, we put inputs in, but we're getting very poor return for it. And effectively with the kind of soluble agronomy and agriculture that we've developed over the last 50 years, we're only getting 10 to 30% efficiency, say, out of our nitrogen and phosphorus. And yet they're very important to driving our plant growth system, because one, they cost us dollars, and two, things like phosphorus are a resource that are diminishing. So we have to start getting more savvy about how to utilise them. And then added to it, we have things like depletion zones that I'll talk about. We've got pH issues with our soils, salting issues, leaching, tie-up and so on. All of these affect the nutrient efficiency of the fertilisers that we apply. And so what we need to do is start balancing things. And what we've discovered since we moved into the biological world is that we can start getting the nutrient use efficiency moving up to around 50 to 70% efficiency. So that means that we can get more bang for the dollar when we put our phosphorus out or our nitrogen out. Effectively, it means we don't have to put as much on to get the same kind of yields, and that's what basically we're interested in doing. And once we start getting these three practices in balance and integrated, suddenly we start to influence health of the soil and also plant nutrition. The question then is, how do we balance this system? It sounds very complicated. Well, in fact, it's actually very easy. The whole biosphere set itself up on its own. It's only since man came along that we've thrown the balance in. So it's a matter of understanding what happens within the balance of this system, and then we can start reverting it. And so the answer to the question of how we do that is using biological mineral farming, or Grosso farming as we coined. So, what are the fundamental questions about this? How do we go about it? How do I build soils for profitable environmental sustainability? How do I improve my soil health, quality, fertility? How do I improve nutrient use efficiency? And how do I do it profitably? Because one of the biggest issues, apart from all of the issues that are going on globally and from the climate point of view, is we have to survive financially. And so going along this system, we have to do it so we make money, otherwise we just go out of business. And that's probably one of the biggest drivers at the moment. So this is where we bring in this biological mineral farming or Grosso farming and look at creating living soils and soil biological fertility. So what is Grosso farming? What does it do? How is it different to conventional or organic farming? I'll talk about that. Then I'll talk about the black box of the soil and effectively what drives the system. Just like in a plane with the black box, it's a thing that tells you when things are out of whack. When you start looking in that black box and start to work out what's gone wrong, it's then easy to turn it around. But if you don't know it's there and you don't look in there, particularly in the soil, it's very hard to try and work things out. And as a soil microbiologist, the probably most important tool that I ever use is a shovel. Right? Go and dig in the soil and have a look at the root development, look at the hard pan, look at whether there's earthworms and things in the soil. Then we can start getting more finessed and look at soil moisture and so on. But once we start looking in the black box, we can start then changing things around. And so then basically using these systems we can increase our nutrient use efficiency and also make things more effective. Now, from a Grosso farming point of view, we've been doing research into this area for over a decade now, and basically the whole growth of what we've been doing has been based on independent research and development and on-farm results. The whole thing about Grosso farming is it's a whole farm system, looking at mineral nutrition, beneficial soil microbes, and then using chemicals with the lowest impact on soil health. Because if we've got these beautiful microbes in the soil, we want to make sure that when we apply agricultural chemicals, they're doing the least damage to it. We also have to control weeds, we have to control diseases, so let's use the ones that have the least impact on the actual system. So, what is Grosso farming? Basically, it's about building fertile soils, all about soil fertility. And by looking at soil nutrition, soil health and soil quality, we start to build bigger root systems, and then we start to see things happening within the soil that are beneficial. So we can apply biomineral fertilisers that contain up to 65 different trace elements and macro elements, not just the NPK. We can apply beneficial microbes as seed dressings or inoculum, And we've been doing that for a long time, say as rhizobial inoculum on legumes, and now we're doing biological inoculum with multiple numbers of microbes that actually create a rhizosphere around the root system, which protects the root from the environment, protects it from diseases, but more importantly helps with nutritional uptake. And then we look at soil chemicals and soil quality. Basically we use ag chemicals, but we use the ones that are compatible to soil biology. So we control our weeds and diseases just as we do in conventional agriculture, but we use the ones that are only compatible with our soil biology. Once you put all of those three things together, basically we start to get this thing happening within the soil. And so we start seeing bigger root systems. The thing about root systems is that they can hold on to a lot more moisture. They hold on to a habitat for microbes that build and take nutrition into the plant. And around that then we have bigger microbial biomass. And the biomass is things that are increasing soil organic carbon, soil organic moisture. Again, a sponge that holds on to moisture. By doing that, suddenly the Grosso system basically increases the productivity, profitability and quality of our soils. And so over the longer term we have sustainability. And again, it comes back to the key thing, is it has to be profitable. And so this system that we've set up allows you to start over time getting into a situation where the perturbations that we're seeing in the weather, the lack of rainfall say during our midwinter and more rain during the summer, means that we can start accessing the moisture and so on. And ultimately this biological farming comes down to managing and utilising moisture in a much better way.